Whew. It's been a while. Hi folks, it's KJ Bell, and we're here on the And Other Way video series. Finally, after a long break. I have cat help, and today we're talking about faith. So I have sort of a complicated relationship with just the word faith. I think it's overused, and I think that it's often used in sort of a weird way, like kind of, for want of a better term, like kind of like a cop-out. Like you hear people say it a lot in sort of a, oh, just have faith. Just have faith and it'll be okay. And I kind of have this, yes, faith is nice, but you kind of had to do something too thought process going on. So for many years I was the director of a church choir, which meant I was at a church every Sunday, even though I do have this complicated relationship with faith and I'm not very religious, but I was there, I was doing my job. And one day the pastor gave a sermon on faith. And it was very interesting because he said that the Greek word for faith has two forms. There's a noun version and there's a verb, and that we don't really have that in English. And that got my wheels kind of turning. And I hit upon this idea that we do have a word for it, we just don't connect it that often. And that word is one that I've talked about before in many contexts, and that word is practice. I tend to think of practice as sort of faith set in motion, because if you think about it, it has all of the elements that people classically mean when they talk about faith. It has the sort of doing something with a higher goal, a higher purpose, doing something without sort of an end game. The way that I think of practice is exactly the way that most people think about faith. And I think that the reason that I was drawn to, writing and music and just art and crafting and creating in general was because it's something bigger than me. And that's what a lot of people who are very have a lot of conviction in their own faith feel is that it's something that is bigger than them, and it's something that gives them something to look at and something to sort of strive toward. And that's exactly how I feel about my practices. And this idea of having something bigger than ourselves to sort of strive for is sort of necessary in a lot of ways for us as human beings, because it gives us sort of a purpose in life. And it's just a matter of choosing the right ones in order to be productive or not productive. Whatever the opposite of productive is. Pick whatever word you want. Things like that are very good for us, but they're also very threatening to the ego, which is why we can block our creative ways a lot of the time. We don't tend to have that same sort of thing as with religion, because I think that there's enough focus on the self in religion that it satisfies the ego. There's the idea of, I'm doing this so that I can go to heaven. I'm doing this so that I get, reincarnated as something, insert whatever religious parallel you want here. It's not as threatening to the ego as things like music and writing and doing the art and acting and all of that stuff. Those sort of things that are bigger than us are threatening to the ego in a lot of ways, which tends to make us block there. And that's where having sort of faith in ourself, in our abilities, in our crafting and our creating is necessary. And I realized in putting together the material for this and the podcast and everything, that part of my problem with the word faith is that in order to really have faith in something, you kind of have to let go of a lot of control. And that is awful for me. I like to control. Let's put it to you this way. This is how much of a control freak I am. When it's raining, I prefer to manually do my windshield wipers than to let them go themselves. That's how much of a control freak I am. So, I understand the struggle with letting go and having faith in anything, let alone myself. Because that's what you're doing as an artist at the end of the day. You really have to have a lot of faith in yourself and your abilities. And that is a tricky thing to do. It's also why it's difficult to start these steps toward allowing yourself to do the unblocking, allowing yourself to create more. And it really comes back to that idea of practice. You know, you just have to take it little baby steps at a time, practice just a little bit without sort of have the end goal in mind, but don't have it be the focus. The practice itself, the faith in motion, needs to be the main focus. So that's it. If you want more detail on the subject of faith, you can listen to the podcast episode. We'll link in the what do you call that, description below, and the blog post soon to come. And yeah, I'm getting back on track. After a long absence away, we're going to do new videos every week, so subscribe to the channel. What else am I supposed to beg you to do? Like the thing, the video, and subscribe, and follow me on the places. I'm that KJ Bell on all of the stuff that you would follow me on. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Get out there and practice. See you next week. Can you not? While I'm trying to do something. Okay, back to the boudoir.